Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me and allowing me to continue to be your daily advocate. If you're new here or you're not subscribed for any reason, please do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button. Thank you to all of you who have been watching and following me for so long. It truly means a lot, and I'm glad that I can be this person.
Crypto is going at 137% a year while the internet grew at 76%. As I always say, says Hall of Fame Michael, this is the fastest adoption of technology the world has ever seen. And I think macro guru Raoul Pal agrees along with that. And I tell you, I absolutely love Raoul Pal and his insights on crypto. We'll take a look at some of we have looked at some of his models before. We will do that. But for today, we have a lot to go over here. XRP Ledger Foundation rolls out token assessment format to provide transparency. The main objective of the framework is to provide transparency for investors in the XRP Ledger ecosystem with an increasing amount of issued tokens. I mean, they're always trying to come up with ways that you could vet the projects and things that are happening on top of the XRP Ledger, so you can suss out what is real and what is really kind of a scammy project. Gotta love what they're doing. Gotta love what this guy's doing too. Jack McDonald here from PolySign and Standard Custody on CNBC. Let's get right to it. There's a couple spots I want you to hear here, and let's start with this one. A quick 20-second spot here. Check it out.
It's much more difficult than ever before, given the institutionalization of the industry over the last couple of years. It's almost to the point where it's really impossible, given a number of the safeguards that exist in the industry today, to move large sums of money in an anonymous way and to avoid sanctions. So I think we're in a much different scenario than 5-10 years ago.
And what a great point it is. And I tell you, and how horrible is it that CNBC and other mainstream news outlets are still hung up on the narrative of illicit activity? Let's be clear. There's no more a tool for illicit activity than physical paper cash, fiat dollars. That's the end of that one. Now let's move to the next clip here I want you to get a hold of here, which is a great clip in exchange, and I want you to hear it, and you're going to see Ripple in this clip before it's over too. Check it out.
To grow at a healthy pace. Events like when you have global unrest like we're seeing right now, in the unfortunate situation in the Ukraine, really shed a lot of light on the ability to move large sums of money in a frictionless way, in a cost-effective way, etc. So yes, I do think there's some correlation from a timing standpoint. I think it's also a very credentializing statement, the executive order, that really said that cryptocurrencies are here to stay. And really what President Biden, I think, offered was an invitation for the different regulatory bodies in the U.S. to come together, to take time to be thoughtful and prudent about developing a regulatory strategy. And I think what we're seeing, particularly right now in the Ukraine and Russia, is the fact that there is a lack of regulatory oversight in any sort of standardized or coordinated way. And so when events like this happen, you see a bit of a scramble. And for many regulators who've chosen not to intervene or regulate certain aspects of the industry now to come a bit hat in hand, frankly, to request different types of companies or infrastructure providers to behave in a certain way when in fact there may not be regulatory oversight.
Sorry, I'm slightly confused, Jack. Why do so many money launderers, thieves, drug dealers and crooks generally use cryptocurrencies?
I mean, this is the narrative. When are they going to give up this narrative? It's just unbelievable. But listen to what he says.
If it's so difficult to use from an institutional point of view?
Well, I would say that they're really not. I think in the early days in the Silk Road, that was certainly one of the use cases. But cryptocurrency industry has evolved considerably over the last 10 years. And right now, there are serious safeguards that exist in the industry, beginning with anti-money laundering and know your client, KYC, hurdles, transaction monitoring, so tracing of any wire transfers that come in and out of these organizations, where you see source of funds, where they come from.
And boom, and there it is. Ripple getting some FaceTime, and it's obviously him defending the idea of illicit activity is the only thing crypto's used for, which is nonsense. And he goes on to say, is pretty much as he started in the beginning of the interview, it is really extremely difficult in order, for you to use cryptocurrency for illicit activity because they can track it. And we've seen evidence of this time and time again. When are they going to figure it out on mainstream media? I just don't know. But I'm praying for them. That's how we're doing it. All right, now let's take a look at this, because this here is a recent update of the latest that's going on here. Obviously, shout out to James K. Filan for everything he does. The SEC has filed a motion for an extension of time now until March 18th, 2022 to respond to Ripple's motion to strike supplemental expert report. Ripple will then file its reply to the SEC by March 24, 2022. So the gamesmanship goes on. We will keep you posted. Speaking of gamesmanship, Eleanor Terrett says, I always make a point of reaching out to both the SEC and Ripple for comment when any news breaks in the case. In response to my email from Friday, obviously because of the fair notice defense being struck, she says, I received a "we declined to comment" from the SEC on the decision to deny their motion to strike the Ripple's fair notice. We should have known, right? But nevertheless, shout out to Eleanor Terra for sharing. The European Union has voted against banning the Bitcoin and proof of work mining, making it remain legal in the EU for now, I should say. It is not over, according to Patrick Hansen, who says very quickly here that they did vote 32-24 in favor of knocking it down. However, big relief, political success for Bitcoin and crypto community in the EU. But here's the breakdown here. He says mining will in all likelihood no longer be addressed within this MiCA regulation, but added to the EU Sustainable Finance Taxonomy. When we come down here to number 6 here, it says any chance left for POW ban is the question now, and the group that lost the vote have one last option, he says. They could veto a fast-track procedure of MiCA through the trilogies and bring the discussion to the plenary of the parliament. He says they need 1 out of 10 of the votes of the EP to do so, which they have. So this is not over. We will keep an eye on it here. But let me tell you something. If you want to know about what Bitcoin can do, what proof of stake like Ethereum can do versus what XRP can do, how about this right here, fresh off the press? And it is Riz sharing this with all of us. This is David Schwartz talking to MIT. And listen to what he says. He first starts off about Bitcoin, then quickly moves to proof of stake and tells you how it just doesn't work for payments. Which means, in my mind, XRP, baby. Take a listen.
Bitcoin's design gives that tie-breaking power essentially to whoever wastes the most energy. And there's probably 4 parties that control, about 60% of the hash rate, maybe more. A similar problem with Ethereum. The XRP ledger doesn't have that. And so the hope is, and I think to some extent, like the evidence has shown this, that like it's a system that's really built for the people who are using the digital asset. And the other interesting thing is, I just for a second to talk about proof of stake. Proof of stake doesn't create miners as stakeholders, but what it does mean is the people who hold the cryptocurrency or the asset are stakeholders. And those are not necessarily the people who are using it. If you think about a company like Western Union or MoneyGram, they move a lot of money. They're really using money pipeline systems more than almost anybody else, but they don't hold a whole, like their whole thing is we don't want to hold any more money than we absolutely have to because holding money is expensive and inefficient. So if the stakeholders are the people who are holding money, that's not the same as the people who benefit from a payment system. The people who benefit from a payment system are people who are moving money. They're not necessarily, so proof of stake, really, if you're a person who wants to use a system for payments, proof of stake gives you another set of 4 stakeholders, the people who hold the digital asset as an investment, who want fees from you for you using the system. The XRP ledger and XRP are unique in that the only stakeholders really are the people who are using the system to transact. There aren't a set of 4 stakeholders who have interest to averse to that. Now the question is that going to make a difference? I think one way that it has is that the fees have remained very low and the transaction speed has remained very high, which is exactly what people who are using the system for payments would want. So I think that kind of sort of validates the idea that designing the system around the payment users being stakeholders produces a system that's better for payments.
I just don't listen to what the gentleman from MIT says.
That's beautifully put. I guess let me ask.
Yes, it is beautifully put, isn't it? Yeah. Listen, I mean, obviously David just an extremely smart, genius guy and just lays it down as simple as ever. And I know that he's, he likes certain different projects and things of that nature. He's not trying to be a maxi. He's just talking about it like if you're using this thing for payments and then couple the idea of understanding that the XRP ledger works in a way, not only the way he explained, but that you also can eliminate companies like a Western Union and other companies and banks from having to hold all kinds of different currencies, which is costly too. Speaking of costly, let's talk about capital gains in cryptocurrency. This is Senator Loomis right here, has a new bill to overhaul how cryptocurrency can be taxed within the U.S. Let's take a look at it really quick. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you so you can breathe a sigh of relief, but I am going to tell you here, first, it would provide a tax exclusion up to $600 so crypto users wouldn't be hit with a tax bill for providing the proverbial coffee, while Loomis would prefer it to be higher, according to Lindholm, a part of the bill as well. The exact amount could actually end up being lower. The senator is looking for a bill that can pass the Senate. Second, the bill would clarify that capital gains don't apply to productive activities such as mining or staking, because you're not getting rid of the asset. Mining refers to using computing power. We know all of that, right? So getting here, and it says here, stakers refer to dedicating your crypto network to increase security and earn passive income. Exactly what David was saying. It says the current gray area is that you might be accruing capital gains taxable event under proof of stake as it stands right now, even if you're just delegating. So this isn't theoretical. The IRS guidance on the issue doesn't mention staking, but to state that Bitcoin and other proof of work cryptocurrencies are taxable as income the day that they are mined. And a Kentucky couple obviously is who were taxed for Tezos or staking wars have sued the IRS to try to solve the matter and get past it and beyond it. We'll keep you up to date with what goes on with that. Now let's take a look at this. Now, I'm going to play you this clip. I had it on my Twitter just because I was like hoping that somebody could shed any kind of light on this. I don't believe, I'll say this. I've tried to do some looking into what this gentleman has said, and I cannot verify this, but I want to talk about what he says. Take a listen really quickly here.
Real story that we need to talk about. The biggest story on the block is that as of 4 p.m. Seattle time yesterday, the SWIFT system go bye-bye, and we're into the cross-border interbank payment system. The U.S. dollar used to account for 100% of all world trade.
Dollars.
In dollars. Yesterday it was 30%. Today it's less than 5%.
Now, I can't find anything to verify those numbers, but I do know, and I think you all know if you've been following the channel, I have reported on the fact that the cross-border interbank payment system that is SIPS is China's system, and I have verified that. And also, we do know that SWIFT has got its growing pains as well, right? So these are things that we know, but the fact of what he's saying, I can't verify. But I do believe we are headed towards a moment where we're going to see some moment, I guess an inflection point where something has to happen here where we see, I believe, to be honest with you, I believe we see RippleNet become 2.0 of SWIFT and help give it the revolution inside of the camp to get it up to snuff and to deal with the fact that we are seeing SIPs be used and talked about being used with the Russia-Ukraine, through Russia and China, and through the BRICS coalition. We will keep an eye on what goes on with that as we move forward. But I will say, I can't verify what he said, but what I can tell you is this. We do know that they are working on a digital dollar. And I can tell you this article is not really into the heart of how hard they've been working on it. Project Hamilton is a high-performance payment processing system designed for the CBDCs. It says, before we get excited, the authors of the highly anticipated technical paper confirmed that it is a toy, a proof of certain concepts, not a complete system. However, it is a toy for grown-ups, they say. Now, here's what I got to tell you about this. First of all, I don't think that this is accurate because I believe that there's a lot that's going on behind the scenes that is not being shared with us intentionally. And I get why. Because remember 2 years ago in 2020 when we reported here on the channel that Visa patent application seeks to turn fiat currencies into digital blockchain versions, which are digital dollars 2 years ago. And by the way, Visa doesn't own the patent on the US dollar. So how in the hell could they even think of doing such a thing? Because the credit card giant has filed an application for a US patent on a computer system that would convert physical dollars and other fiat currencies into digital versions. I'm not making this up. Complete with denominations and serial numbers recorded via blockchain. The system would then remove the paper from the currency from circulation. This is a repatriation of cash. This would end up being like a catch-all bucket is the way I see this. And look, a lot of people are saying we're headed to some kind of massive correction or in fact even a collapse. We have printed somewhere between $6 and $10 trillion, they say. And at some point, it's going to come home to roost. I happen to think that XRP, the ledger, mass adoption of that, the launch of central bank digital currencies just may coincide with some kind of a collapse that may bring on the onset or become the catalyst for the introduction of a digital dollar. Maybe that digital dollar goes to being backed by gold, which could be repriced and revalued, by the way. I don't know the answer, but I do believe something is coming. And I believe if you're going to have the introduction of a digital dollar, you're going to need to incentivize people. And wouldn't it be the greatest incentive if your paper dollar was worth probably 25% of what it was the day before?
So enjoy your day, everybody. I'm always here for you. Leave any comments or questions below and be sure to subscribe. But thanks, everybody. I really appreciate you. Enjoy your day, and I always have your back. So thanks so much, everybody.